men, and as usual, I use the term loosely. Working on the Project 69 chopper over here, and I've got a fender. It's permanently mounted with a couple of hard points up here. The ass end is just kind of suspended on this sissy bar simulator, for lack of better terms. Anyway, what we're going to talk about is the wheel. And what we're going to talk about is how the wheel is not in the center of the fender. I took rather careful measurements from one side of the fender to the other, divided it in two to find the center, and I did it at several places along the way. And I marked this red line down the middle of the fender. I also marked a red line down the middle of the frame backbone all the way up to the neck. And if you look down that line, you can see the fender is dead nuts lined up with the center of the frame. So the fender is in the middle of the motorcycle. The problem is the wheel is not. This is not an unusual problem. When guys build these wheels, the wheel and the rim is not usually supposed to be centered over the hub. So if you center it over the hub, it won't be in the center of the motorcycle. When you look in the Harley manual about wheel building, there's an offset number they talk about. Well, the offset number they give you is for a stock Harley 18-inch wheel, not for a 16-inch wheel, which this bike has on it. So when you're building a wheel, it's very hard to know for sure what the offset is supposed to be. So typically what I'll do on a bike like this, if I were building the wheel, is I would just put it together, stick it in a frame, and center it up left and right, and then true it. Well, this wheel's already been put together, and what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to loosen all the spokes on this side and tighten all the spokes on that side and pull the wheel over until it lines up with the center of everything. Anyway, that's the plan. In preparation for this, I've let all the air out of the tube. Bear in mind that as I tighten the spokes on this side, the end of the spoke might protrude through the nipple. So I'm going to have to, at some point, take the tire off, make sure all the spokes are ground down, and put the wheel back, put the tire back on the rim. But that'll be a little bit later. So let's start loosening and tightening. Okay, so the object of this exercise is to move the wheel that way so that this little red center line is in the center of the wheel and not off to one side or the other. So what I'm going to do is we're going to loosen all the spokes on this side of the wheel, probably a turn or thereabouts, and then tighten all the spokes on that side of the wheel, a turn or thereabouts. So I'll just start at the valve stem and start loosening. Okay, take a look at the vertical line between the two carrots. After several rounds of loosening on one side and tightening on the other, the wheel moved over to the right about 5/16 of an inch, and I was eventually able to bring it almost dead nuts center, aligned with the frame of the bike and the fender. Anyway, that's the final result right there, and I'm good with it. Back when I was a young man working in a motorcycle shop, for some reason Saturdays was tire changing day, and we kept an extra guy on duty on Saturday, and all he did all day was change tires. Well, back in those days I used to get paid $8 for removing it from the motorcycle, unmounting the tire, putting it back on the mounting the tire and then putting it back on the motorcycle. $8. Harley tires were a little harder to do. Used to get paid $10 for doing a Harley tire. really wasn't enough. We didn't have them fancy machines. Did it by hand, like this. It was, as I like to say, a pain in the balls. A guy who was good at it could do 8 of them in the course of a day, and you did 8 of them. By the end of the day, you were exhausted. If you've ever pried them off and on by hand, you'll know it's like wrestling with an octopus. And you would be tired and sore for the whole day after recovering. I've been thinking about buying one of them machines. I really don't have enough room in my shop to put one up. One of the, of course, pneumatic ones would really be nice. Then there's those hand delivering kind of ones. And honestly, anything with the alloy rim, I take to a shop that's got a machine, because alloy rims are just too easy to damage. This is a steel rim. I should be able to get it off and on without fucking it up. So we'll give it a try and see how it goes. You can see the first part is breaking the bead. I probably ought to pop the brake disc off of this. I'm getting to be an old man. I've had both shoulder joints replaced. I'm sure the doctors, well, the doctors would either be pretty proud of their work saying, ah, goddamn, that shoulder works good after I fixed it, or else they'd be saying, what are you doing, stupid? You're not supposed to do that shit with a bad shoulder. Let's get the brake drum out of the way. This brake drum has got the wrong nuts and bolts in it. Harley has a special close tolerance bolt. Well, and of course it's going to make me hold the back. you want to do is to get the bead to drop down into the center. This is a deep drop center rim. You get the bead to drop down into the center, and that'll give you room to pull it up over the other side. Actually, that one's not too bad. There's a little gaposis in there where you could get the iron in. Bastard. Yeah, and this is where the tire iron comes flying out at 900 miles an hour and destroys the $800 camera. Hopefully not, huh? I'm not worried about the tube because I'm probably going to put a new tube in anyway because we don't know how old it is. Once the major pulling is over with, see right now it's just kind of popping over. I'm not that worried about denting the rim. Because I'm not putting a lot of force on it. And we're right there. You get the tire iron between the rim and the tire. A lot of times you can pull it around to pop that last little bit off. The bit though. May give it a little persuasion. That's it. One side's off. Gotta break the bead loose on the other side. Ain't gonna be any easier. And I win. Okay, I've taken the tire off, obviously. I've got the wheel sitting in my truing stand. And this nut, the flat of the nut is set parallel to the edge of the rim. This is what I'm going to use to check the hop. And then the point of the probe over here is just barely touching the vertical side of the rim. So if we spin this around, you'll see that the distance between the side of the rim and the flat of the nut barely changes as it goes around. This is a 25 thou feeler gauge, and it won't quite fit in there without deflecting. So this wheel is probably true within, I don't know, 15-20 thousandths of an inch as far as the hop is concerned. And then of course you have the wobble, and the hop is the kind of up and down out around, and then the wobble is the side to side out around. And the same 25 thou feeler gauge does not pass between the end of my probe and the side of the wheel. So that's how close it is. It doesn't rub, and it never gets any farther away than, geez, I don't know, I can't, you can barely see it even. It's just barely missing the vertical surface of the rim. So this wheel is pretty damn true. I'm happy with that. And that was, of course, after loosening all the spokes on this side and tightening all the spokes on this side. The wheel maintained its true very well, which I'm very happy with that. Part B of that is, let's look at the spokes. Rather, let's look at the nipples. Nipples is always such a fun word to say. The nipples, none of them have any spoke protruding through the end. So this whole exercise of taking the tire off was probably unnecessary. But now I know. Before I didn't know. Now I know. But anyway, wheels looking pretty good. I'm going to actually torque all these spokes and hopefully bring them all down nice and evenly, and we're going to call it good to go.